Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rick with Rick's Toy Room, and I'm going to do a video with my boy Dusty here because there was a Comic Con last week, and it was his very first Comic Con. So I wanted to do this video to give a recap on what we thought on the Tampa Bay Comic Con for 2023, and get his thoughts on his very first Comic Con, talk about what we did, what we saw. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, I really intended to have this video done last week after the Comic Con. However, as luck be have it, I ended up getting COVID. I came home from the Comic-Con Sunday and felt Sunday night, cracked a couple fevers. Monday morning, woke up damn near dead. So, now that that's gone and done and I'm all better now, almost spilled my drink, let's go ahead and get into it. So, Dusty, this was your very first official Comic-Con. Tell me what your first thoughts were on the con. And yes, I'm expecting everything, so let me have it.
Well, the very first thing I thought was wow. Definitely a place to go to people watch, being my first con. It was very interesting. Having said that, though, there's a lot of people that put a lot of fucking time and effort into their costumes, so I got to give them props for that, right?
Okay.
Super busy. A lot of people. Saturday's probably the busiest, I would say.
Saturday was our busiest, for sure.
Definitely Friday was still a lot of people. It probably took us about an hour or so to get in through registration and all of that, I would say.
Yeah, about.
Yeah. I think overall, for my first con, it was pretty cool. A lot of people to meet. It seemed like the vendor floor had a lot of people, or a lot of vendors there and stuff, so that was really interesting. Kind of a good array of everything.
Okay. So, before I get into more questions, I'm going to give you my quick recap. Unlike Dusty, this was not my first Comic-Con. This wasn't even my first Tampa Bay Comic-Con. I will say that I personally felt that this con did way poorer than previous years. I think the floor layout was actually janky as all get out. As Dusty said, it took us about an hour and a half to get through registration and get actually into the show floor. We didn't get there super early. We figured most people were going to get there really, really early. Line was pretty much doubled around the building from the entrance. The celebrity row was done very terribly this year. They had them crammed up on top of each other. There was one row on the main entrance when you walked in. You came in through the main entrance to the floor. They put all the celebrities on the far left. Last year they were on the far right. Last year they did them on the far right, made an L down the actual show floor. Plenty of space for the queue, etc. And it just wasn't that this year. This year they put all the celebrities together, kind of back to back, one row, very small queue lines for all the celebrities, complete cluster. It was super disorganized when it came to celebrity row. They only had, I want to say, 25 celebrities, maybe?
I would say so.
Maybe?
Seems about right. Maybe.
You figure you had the three guys from MASH, a few other people we didn't know, Jen Taylor and Steve Downs on the row when you walked in on the right. On the left, you had the 5 hobbits, 2 of which didn't show up. You had the 3 guys from Flash. You had a bunch of miscellaneous actors, about 5 in the middle there. So that would have been about 15.
Then you had the back
20,
row behind Steve and them.
Yeah, you probably another 6. So yeah, probably about 25 celebrities there this year. Again, compared to last year, not great and not a lot, to be honest. I mean, they weren't super A-listers. The people they had were really good. I mean, we went for Steve Downs and Jen Taylor and then ended up getting some extra autographs while we were there. And we'll talk about that once we get to that point. I personally thought the vendor floor was lacking. There just wasn't a lot of vendors. There was tons of space between the booths this year, which is great. But the vendor floor was just very, very lacking, especially in diversity of product. So the artist alley. Normally, I love going to an artist alley just to walk, check out the artist. I think that the artist alley was really, really small. They crammed it in the middle of the vendor selection. So that was kind of poorly done, if you ask me. I like a very distinctive artist alley that you can just walk through. And again, they screwed that up from last year. So I don't know who the planner was. I don't know if this was a new event planner or not, but I think they were a joke. Other than that, okay, so that was my overall. I thought the show had a lot less people showing up to it. I thought the show itself, vendor-wise, was very small. Celebrity-wise was very small. But, like Dusty, I think it was really, really easy to get in and out of. Again, we showed up The floor opened for normal customers at 11:30, 12:30. 12:30. We got there 11.
Sounds about right.
Got there about 11. We actually got to park right on site. We actually parked at the Emily Arena garage and just walked next door to the convention center the first time on Friday. So we got there about 11. Yeah, probably an hour and a half top to bottom from getting in the line, going through registration, picking up our tickets. Dusty did the e-purchase early, so we just had to scan the barcode. Got our wristbands. And then we were right in the line for celebrities. I mean, the first thing we did was we bum rushed Steve Downs and Jen Taylor's table. We ran over there. And that's where I think we're going to kick the show off at now. So let's start there. Now, how many celebrities have you met historically through various whatever, whether it be conventions or and have you done any other type of conventions for celebrity meet and greets, etc.? Let's start there.
Probably like a handful, to be honest with you, maybe 5 or 6.
Okay, so in scale of how famous the actors you met at this trip. Now, let's talk about all your actors for a second. So, Steve Downs, who is the voice of Master Chief. Jen Taylor, who is the voice of Cortana. And Halsey, if you watch the Halo TV show on Paramount. Then you met Rona. Then who did you meet? The celebrity Gibbs.
Kevin... It's not Klein. It's Kevin something. I'm drawing a blank.
Okay. So he met Gibbs from Pirates of the Caribbean. He was also the voice of Gibbs for Sea of Thieves. He was really cool. Yep. And then, let's see, you met...
Matthew Lewis, who played... drawing a blank now. Neville Longbottom in Harry Potter.
Okay, so some Harry Potter guys.
Very cool guy.
You like Neville? Okay.
Yep.
Lewis. Whatever. And then who else? 2 more.
Michael Rooker. So
Guardians of the Galaxy,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep, played in Walking Dead as well too.
Okay,
Yep.
And then the last one we met was.
Who else was it? Oh, Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman. Yeah. Okay. So now that we've talked about all the celebrities you met here,
yeah,
rank them from, if you're going to say famous to least famous. How would you?
I would say for this con for me, I would say probably. I mean, if we're talking in terms of IMDb credits, probably probably Corey Feldman was probably the most famous. But next to him, I would probably say Kevin, who played Gibbs, probably Michael Rooker, and then Matthew Lewis.
Okay. Now, of all of those, who were your favorite to actually meet? And tell me some stuff about those meet and greets.
If we're talking based on those 3, definitely, I had a personal tie with Kevin, who played Gibbs. Obviously, he's been in a bunch of stuff. Pirates was a big thing. I liked him in Turn Washington Spies. So we actually got to talk quite a bit. He said that he was a history buff, so we kind of had a connection there.
Okay.
Just seemed very personable. Talked about how he would always kind of run some pranks on set, so that seemed pretty cool. Matthew Lewis, I mean, he went into great detail when you were asking him questions. We had asked him about a tattoo on his right forearm, which was the number 11, which he said he was always number 11 in football for everybody across the pond, soccer over here, as I'm going to call it. So he just kind of went into detail. Every show that he goes to, every area he goes to, he gets a local jersey with the number 11 and his last name on it. So we kind of talked about that. Rooker was really cool. You could tell he was definitely there, kind of messing around, but more in capacity for the kids. So, we talked very briefly about some stuff, and I asked him about older projects from probably a decade ago. So he was pretty surprised that people were asking him about that. But just waiting in line, his line was very professional, very quick. And he took a lot of extra time to just really mess around with the kids and have a good time for them, which I thought was pretty cool.
Nice. So I think out of all mine, some of my favorites that I met, obviously I was in line with him for Neville and for Gibbs. I was there again for Steve Downs, Jen Taylor, and then I decided to do the Corey Feldman because he was the voice of Donatello. So if you follow the channel, follow some of the Instagram and Facebook posts, I was getting autographs of the TMNT promo photo plus the Topps trading cards. Those you have in each of the Turtles sign them. And I'm going to say my experience with this con for autographs, etc., every single con is going to be different, right? And every single con is going to be, every actor, etc., has a thing. And they always change their prices. Now, all the prices were posted, and Corey Feldman decided that, and I don't necessarily blame him. So let me say this, right? I don't blame the guy for what he did here. There was a collector that walked in, had a bunch of NECA and old Movie Maniacs figures, and was getting them all autographed by Corey. 5-1, he was a dealer. He was going to be flipping them. Now, no harm, no foul, right? That's what I do. I'm a toy salesman. But
it's part of the game.
It's part of the game. Like we know the game, right? You go to the Comic-Con, you're going to get things signed. Some's for you, some's to flip. You're going to make your money back. No worries. But what does Corey do? Corey turns around and says, I'm not signing a damn thing you bring to me if it's not personalized. Or, if I sign it not personalized, it's $160 per autograph. Now, I'm not going to hate the game. I mean, again, Corey's trying to get paid. Corey doesn't want to see guys bringing a bunch of crap up to flip on eBay and make money off his name. But he's also charging for his autograph, which at the time, $80. They're supposed to be $70. They're supposed to be $70 an autograph. This Joker gets to the show, raises the price to $80 an autograph, and then $160 a piece for non-personalized. So that put a damper in things because obviously you go to these shows, you try to stay within a certain budget. Because if you don't set a budget, you of all people know you will blow cash like it's nobody's business. I don't know
what you're talking about.
It is so easy to get caught up in the shine, the show, the hype. You're in line for one celebrity. You see one you didn't realize was going to be there. You're like, I'll just get his autograph. It's another $50. It's another $40.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, too, is then, for example, we were in Corey's line, and he had taken a break for photo ops, so we had probably about a half-hour window. And we're thinking going into it that Michael Rooker's line is going to be out the front door because it's Michael Rooker. And so all of a sudden I look over, and he's kind of coming back. About 10 people go through his line, and there's like 4 people in line. So I kind of look at Rick, and I'm like, kind of screw it. That's kind of like the attitude you have when you go there. It's kind of like, screw it. Like, hey, this person's line's really low. I kind of want to meet them. I didn't really want to spend the extra money at the time. Like, you're not going to lose sleep over not having that, meeting that person. And then you say, well, if there's only 4 people, screw it. I'm going to go do it real quick.
Only 4 people. It's only $50. It's a once in a lifetime. I'll probably never see him again. I'll never do another con. And then next thing you know, you're out about $5,000. So, not that we went...
We didn't go that bad.
If we talk about pre-inventory that we went, we got close. It was a close show. So anyhow, so again, I don't hate Corey, but again, we went in with a certain budget, and Corey kind of threw the budget out the window by changing his prices. No worry, no harm, no foul. But my experience, like again, and people have done it. When I went to the show in Orlando or Lakeland that had Judith Hoig, she raised her prices for some photos, and these guys charge more for pops. It is what it is, right? But so I think Corey had I can't tell if Corey was trying to be a dick or if Corey was just trying to like keep the scalpers out of his line, whatever the deal was. Part of my meeting with him was I feel kind of cool, kind of not. I can't tell. I can't tell if he was trying to if it's just all the drugs throughout the years, or if he just has that semi-child star chip on his shoulder. And granted, I mean, I like to ask weird things, right? Like we've seen people go to these shows, and we'll talk about a couple of them in here in a minute, where they meet a celebrity and they lose their damn mind. And, oh my God, you're my favorite, you're the best actor, blah, blah, blah. They hear that shit all the time. What I like to do, one of the things I kind of like told Dusty before we went, is I always like to ask a question that isn't necessarily something that they probably think about all the time, right? So, for instance, my favorite go-to question meeting a celebrity is, what's the weirdest thing you've had autographed? Well, I've seen Corey Feldman, and he's, again, 80s child star. I didn't even want to know what was the weirdest thing he's ever autographed. He's been known to party. So I decided to ask him about the Turtles movie. I was like, look, you were the voice of Donatello. You had the scene with Elias, forget Elias's name, but the guy that played Casey Jones. I was like, was that scene ad-libbed, where you guys were having to come up with nasty nicknames for each other based on the letters of the alphabet? And he kind of looks at me, he's like, dude, that was 30 years ago. And, okay, yeah, you're right, it was 30 years ago, but you think something like that from a super popular movie that would have been, like, it would kind of stick in your mind, right? Like, I talked to Ken Scott. Ken had fond memories of Ninja Turtles. Judith Hoig had fond memories of Ninja Turtles. Well, Roker had fond memories of this other TV show that you talked to him about. Same thing with, what's his name?
Yeah, like I asked Ruker about being on an episode of Psych, which was probably, I don't know what the exact year of it was, but let's say anywhere between like 2008, 2012, and like mid-autographed, he looks up and he's like, dude, that was from like 10 years ago or more. He's like, he was kind of like shocked by the fact that somebody asked him about a past project that now that he's been in Guardians and countless other things, I don't think anybody would really ever bring up to him. So that was kind of one of those cool interactions. Kevin, who played Gibbs, I had asked him about being on Washington Spies, and you just saw the kind of life light up in his eyes, like, oh, hey, somebody's not asking me about pirates. Like, that's kind of cool. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, I like to throw those questions out to kind of throw people off. But like I said, the way Corey answered it, like I said, I can't tell if it was that chip in his shoulder, just all the drugs. He kept putting his sunglasses on like halfway through the show. He kind of, I don't know, asked me, he kind of looked a little bugged out. And on that topic, we'll talk about a couple other autographs. Pauly Shore was there. Pauly Shore was a complete, I'm going to go with douchebag. Like, you first saw him, he was walking through the crowd before the show, when the show very first opened up. He seemed to be really cool, talking with a couple guests. And then, like, a few people went and sat in line with him, and they're like, dude, the guy was just such an asshole. Like, he was just terrible. Excuse me. And I'm like, I kind of get it. Like, he hasn't had a good show in a while. He always talks about how, people always pigeonhole him into Encino Man and all these dumb shows. But it's like, bro, what else have you done? You still look like a skater dopehead. Like, I don't know what were you expecting? So, that was interesting. All right.
I remember at one point, I think this was on Sunday, we had seen that they had shifted people around because certain stars were only there for a day. They left. So where they had Steve and Jen was kind of like in the middle. They moved them over to kind of like the back wall where a lot of the other celebrities were, and they pulled Pauly over to the middle, which was not the big grand wall, I guess is how I'll put it. And at one point, I had walked back there thinking there was like more people or something, but I went to the very end of the row, and so I'm from me to the wall of him, and he just kind of looks at me as I'm passing by. Just you could just tell, like, he just had this look. Either he didn't want to be there, he was pissed, whatever. So which I got a kick out of, because you're meeting your fans and you're getting paid a lot of money to do it, so it is what it is. But then, no more than 5 minutes when I went back to see him in line, they had pulled Pauly's banner down and he had left.
Yeah,
so
he cut the show early. He was out.
I think they said the vendor floor ended at like 5 or 6 or something. This was probably like 1 or 2 o'clock and he was gone, so he didn't even stay for the full Sunday.
Yeah. I don't even know, were we there that late? I thought we got there like at noon on Sunday.
It might have been.
Yeah, he was out.
Yeah. Like, he was out within the first couple hours of the show opening.
All right, so let's talk about your typical fan people for a second. So, again, this is your very first Comic-Con. And we've all made jokes, or we've all been at that Comic-Con, right, where you've got your basement trolls, people that live with their mama, people that are wearing outfits way too revealing for their costumes, people that smell like they probably haven't showered in years. What was your experience with comic goers this show?
Honestly, I can say it was not as intense as I expected. Because you see stuff on TV and all these shows about people doing this, so I was expecting a lot more, both in just visual and smelling at that point. But again, I'm not going to knock people for different strokes for different folks. So
I will.
more props to them for doing what they're passionate about. But it catches me off guard because I'm not from that typical realm. So I was more or less there we were there to meet Steve and Jen, which was kind of our top thing. So to them, maybe they thought we were weird walking in with Master Chief helmets and sealed copies of the game that we paid pretty good money for. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
But no,
I'm responsible.
I think overall it wasn't as intense as I thought it was going to be, but it was definitely a unique experience.
All right,
to have everything that concentrated.
So let's go over a few of the experiences. So we had the guy that lived with his mother and was here to get his autographs. Probably early 20s, maybe. We were in line for Corey Feldman.
Yep.
And this kid was your typical, very socially deprived, I guess is the way you could put it. Awkward, socially awkward. He wanted to interject. You find these people in every Comic-Con, right? They automatically want to inject themselves into your conversation. They have an experience for everything that you've done. They don't know how to approach the conversation, so they just randomly blurt something out in your conversation. He took a liking to Dusty. Everything Dusty said, he had an experience for, wanted to talk about.
Not the first time.
And I mean, we're all fans of something, so I'm not, again, like you said, you can't knock different folks, different strokes. He was big into Goonies. Now, for being a kid of about 20, I was really shocked he knew what Goonies was. But at the same token, he was kind of a Goonie himself. So I'm guessing that,
he fit in pretty well.
He fit in. So we had the socially awkward guy. Overly underdressed comic girl. I'll have some photos. I'll pop them up randomly, sporadically throughout this video, perhaps, or I'll just do a quick montage at the end. I don't know how I'm going to do this yet. But some very decently revealing costumes, obviously. Some really good ones. We saw some really cool...
there was a Doc Ock that was really good.
The Doc Ock was really good. I saw a couple, like World of Warcraft, I think. There was some really good Spider-Man. There's some really bad Spider-Man.
There was a Alien vs. Predator that was really good.
The Predator was really good. Saw some really smooth costumes, so that was our costumes. The smells. There were definitely people at this convention that could use a quick taste and hygiene.
I'm just putting this out there. So we're in Florida, so obviously that's their own standards, right? But you would think that if there's going to be like hand sanitizer stations everywhere, like if they had a dispenser for like travel size deodorants or something, it would go a long way.
Dude,
I'm just saying.
Dude.
And it's like 100 degrees. So I mean, everybody's gonna get a little ripe. But I mean, you can take care of business beforehand.
Dude. So me and Jared went to a Comic-Con. I want to think it was like the first year at C2E2, or maybe it was the last year at Wizard. It was when Mattel was doing a massive launch for Masters of the Universe Classics. They gave out Moss Man deodorant sticks as promo items.
It's brilliant.
Dude, you can smell like pine. You're Pine Fresh. You should use it if you're at the con. I agree. I think they should have little gift bags when you walk into the con, and every one of them should include a stick of deodorant.
I might put directions on how to use it, because a lot of times I don't think...
I would suggest pictures.
Okay.
Suggest pictures.
Pictures is fine.
Some of these people don't look like they can read, even though they're at Comic-Con. This Comic-Con, by the way, Tampa Bay Comic-Con, I don't feel is a Comic-Con. I feel that Tampa Bay Comic-Con is an entertainment show with comics. Historically, from what I've seen, they've focused a lot on entertainment, actors, celebrities, not as much as comics. Now, MegaCon in Orlando focuses heavily on comics and comic artists. So, Artist Alley in MegaCon was phenomenal. Huge, big names in comic books. Tampa Bay Comic-Con didn't really have a lot of comic artists. They didn't have a lot of comic celebrities. So, this is more of an entertainment expo, so I don't think these ones can read. I would definitely give them photos. Hell, maybe a little QR code. A lot of them were on their phones. I did see some really other cool costumes. There were a few people with service dogs there. Now, typically I have a problem with this. And my problem with taking service dogs to an event like this, first off, is most people can't pay attention for jack. So the concern that the dogs are going to get tripped on or walked on always kind of like worries me. And I know they're trained, right? They're taken into large areas. They're trained for group
atmospheres.
Yeah,
maybe?
Group atmospheres, right? Like
group
a lot of people, group settings, like a lot of people, a lot of noises. MegaCon was worse because it was super packed. This show is not that packed, so I'm not too overly upset about people coming in with their service dogs. And I'm not saying people with service dogs can't go anywhere. I say there's a time and place, right? Either super early on the first day, super late on the last day. During the busy days of Saturday, it can be really, really stressful. And I think that people don't think about it. Like, you have a service dog because you have this stress and this emotional response to all the people and all the anxiety. Don't you think the animals get that sometimes too, trained or not? People get anxiety.
There's a lot of stimuli there.
Yeah, so I'm always really cautious about that. Granted, the one lady did have this really cute dog that was dressed up like an Ewok. I thought that was one of the coolest costumes of the whole show, personally. I'd have let the lady win just for that. So that's my take on that. What else did we see? What about other typical Comic-Con? typical Comic-Con, greasy food fare, like in the show, hot dogs, some French fries, drinks. The company that does the non-alcoholic mules with the copper cups. Cool idea. I've seen them at other shows. I've never been like a person to buy it because what I don't want to do is spill that stuff on whatever it is I'm collecting or buying.
Right.
I didn't see a lot of super cool items at this show. Like a lot of the stuff that I saw were vendors that had been to a few of the other local cons, so they're definitely local vendors. Some of the artwork was okay, but I can't think of anything that like really screamed out to me at this show. It was like, oh my god, can't believe that this was here. All your typical type vendors, right? Your fake weapons, your lounge flies, your Funko dealers. All in all, if I had to grade this show, I would say that it was a very lackluster. I'm going to give it a B- for the celebrities that we met.
I would agree with that, even for my first con. Because, I would say overall, which I was really surprised about, there were lines, but going into this, when you were explaining that, some might take hours just to even get up to somebody. Yeah. I don't think at any one time we waited more than an hour to get through anybody.
Yeah,
and that was only on a couple occasions.
Which is absolutely shocking.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that the one thing that I was kind of, other than just the lines, organization was atrocious. Probably the worst I've seen in any show, and I've been to the Arnold Bodybuilding Expo, which is absolutely huge in Columbus, and that was way more organized. So the one thing that for me, I think I would have preferred, and I agree, we've seen the same vendors that more often than not, it was like, okay, here's your fake weapons, here's a couple dealers for Funkos or action figures or comics, miscellaneous stuff that I would never expect to see at a con. But I feel like the artist alley, they kind of blended in with it. So we were in certain stages where there might be a section of artists, and then there would be all vendors, and then we'd find artists at the very end. And so it was kind of mingled in, and so we really didn't get a chance to, I don't know, it was hard for me to navigate thinking, okay, you're going from one section to the next. Artist-wise, I agree. There was a couple good works. There was, we never got the artist's name. There was a guy that did the black and orange Batman photo that came in a wooden frame that looked really nice. There was one that you got from, it's Panda...
Gallery Panda. The acrylic artwork.
Yeah. There was a couple there. There was a Raiden one that I thought was really cool, and then a Wolverine one that he had spotted, which you had said would look better with the light, the track lighting underneath. Yeah. But I think, for me, there was a good amount of vendors, but if it was compared to a MegaCon or a San Diego Comic-Con, was probably like a garage sale, really, in perspective. But I personally would have liked having not only the organization a lot better, because if not, everybody's stressed out and just assholes to each other, but having, okay, here's all your vendors, here's your artists. Mm-hmm. Because then you know what you're going for, and you're not trying to walk around like we did, like a labyrinth, trying to figure out where the hell we were going.
Yep. So, 100% agree. I think it was totally disorganized. Only a B-, like I said, only for the celebrities, especially for the ones that we went to go see. I would have loved to see more celebrities. I would have loved to see the queues have bigger space with more space to stand. And just be not on top of each other. There weren't even dividers for the queue, so you couldn't tell where where one celebrity line started and where another one ended. They tried this VIP crap. Not enough support staff to handle that. So yeah,
the lines ended up getting merged at almost every turn.
Yeah, everywhere you went, the lines were merged. There's no such thing as VIP. About 5 minutes into any line that started, so it is what it is. Yeah, so that's it. B- for this year's Comic-Con. I hope that next year's better. I will definitely go to next year's again. There's another Comic-Con at the end of August, first week of September, Fan Expo in Orlando. I'm going to go do that one to get the last Turtles autographs I need. And I'll give you a review of that one. I don't know if he'll be here for that, but we'll see.
Yeah, and the Tampa Bay Comic-Con, I think on Thursday just released. It's going to be next year, the 23rd through the 25th of August.
Yep, so the next one's already announced.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. We're going to kill this video. We're going to maybe do some other ones. But that is our review of the Tampa Bay Comic-Con and Dusty's first show. All right, y'all. We'll get at you.